different grips. If the grip is too wide, the paddler may struggle to reach the water. If the grip is too narrow, the paddler may have difficulty clearing the water during return. Now we have a look at the paddle movements during stroke. There are 4 commonly recognised phases of the stroke: catch, drive or pull through the water, exit and airwork, return and setup. They all follow each other, making one smooth motion. Let's start with the catch phase of the stroke. The paddle should enter the water at a positive angle where forces are applied both downwards and backwards, which enables the boat to move up and forwards. The catch must be fast, aggressive and clean, no large splashing. Common mistakes are too sharp an angle, too blunt an angle, negative angle or missing catch, too much splash, slow entrance of the paddle into the water. All these mistakes reduce the efficiency of the catch, which affects the efficiency of the whole stroke. As mentioned previously, during the drive phase, the angles of the blade changes from positive to negative. It starts with a positive angle, goes through the vertical phase, and negative angle on the exit. An efficient technique allows all these angles of the paddle to propel the boat forward. Inefficient techniques could slow down the boat, regardless of the angle of the paddle. Ideally, the paddler should try to keep the paddle in a positive or vertical position for as long as possible, where forces applied on the blade are most productive. The blade of the paddle must move as close as possible to the side of the boat during the whole driving phase. The most common mistakes are changing the angle from positive to negative too quickly, non-perpendicular angle of the blade to the boat, and paddle moves away from the boat. During exit, the angle of the paddle is negative, but if force is applied down, not up, it's still possible to develop forces moving backwards. This is an important biomechanical principle of the exit. This part of the stroke is often underrated because of the negative angle of the paddle, leading to the misconception that this part of the stroke is not important. The blade should move up sideways in a smooth motion without lifting water. The outside edge of the blade should cut through the water on the way out. In canoeing, it's called J-stroke. Common mistakes at the exit are pausing prior to taking the paddle out of the water, keep changing the front angle of the paddle, exit with opposite J-stroke angle, not producing downward force during exit. Airwork, recovery, return. The paddle should move through the air with the outside edge forwards, not the flat surface of the paddle, to avoid air resistance. At the end of this phase, the paddle should be set up above the water with the inside edge perpendicular to the boat. There are many different types of returns in dragon boating, some of them high, some low, some fast, some slow. It'll be very difficult to describe all of them. It always depends on team technique and the type of race. Common mistakes are paddle brought forward with full surface causing air resistance instead of cutting through with the side of the paddle. Paddle is not vertical at the end of the airwork. Paddle is not outside the gunnel at the end of return. So far we've looked at what the paddle does in the stroke. Now let's analyse paddlers' body movements during the strokes. A good paddler will paddle with their whole body. There are always debates regarding whether paddling should be done on only one side or both sides. If you are a beginner or recreational paddler and you paddle to develop general fitness, trying to paddle both sides is recommended. However, if you decide to race competitively, it is better to work on just one side and master that side as much as possible. Your coach should help you decide which side is best for you. Let's discuss body position and movements during the catch phase of the stroke. This phase starts when the body is fully stretched and the paddle is ready to spear down to the water, and finishes when the blade is completely submerged. The bottom arm is fully stretched forward. The top arm could be slightly bent or straight. That depends on the individual. The top hand must be above bottom hand. At this point, the body should be twisted from the hip with the chest open inside the boat. From this moment, there should not be any downward body movements. Top shoulder and shoulder blade have a major role driving the paddle down and untwisting the body. It's a very short, sharp effort. As soon as the paddle touches the water, the whole body should be locked. Let's have a look at common mistakes during catch and their consequences. The drive phase, also known as pull, starts when the blade is fully submerged in the water and concludes when the bottom hand is level with the middle of the paddler's thigh. This phase requires maximum tension throughout the whole body to connect the paddle in the water with the boat without losing any power. At the start of this phase, the body should be fully stretched forward and bent from the hips, shoulders slightly twisted, following untwisting during the catch. Bottom arm straight, top arm locked. The head should be slightly up or straight with the body. During drive, the body finishes untwisting until shoulders are level. At the same time, the body becomes erect from the hips, sitting up. Both arms must be locked during the whole movement. Top arm and shoulder driving down, moving down till the end of the drive phase. The top hand should finish at lower chest height but away from the chest itself. The bottom hand should never pass the hip. At the end of the stroke, shoulders must be level and down. The body should be straight but not past the vertical position. Every paddler must use their legs actively during drive phase. Let's have a look at common drive mistakes and their consequences. Now we'll talk about exit. The exit starts when the bottom hand reaches mid-thigh and finishes next to the hip. By the end of this stage, the paddle should be completely out of the water. The blade itself will be just behind the hip. The exit is produced by top and bottom arms synchronically with the top hand playing the leading role. At the end of the exit, the body should be vertical and relaxed. The exit must be fast without pausing. Good paddlers always use exit as additional acceleration for the boat and preparation, setup, for the next stroke. Let's have a look at common exit mistakes and their consequences. The last part of the stroke, but no less important, is air work. This phase starts when the paddle leaves the water and finishes when the body and arm are fully stretched forward and up. The main requirements for this phase are the whole body should be relaxed and to have a rest between the strokes. Another goal of this stage of stroke is to prepare or set up for the next stroke. After exit, arms start moving up and forward, bringing the whole body from vertical position to fully stretched forward and open, twisted from hips with chest facing into the middle of the boat. At the final point, the paddler's body should be positioned outside the gunnel and the top hand should be above bottom hand. The bottom arm must be fully stretched and elbow angle of the top arm set. Now we'll look at common mistakes of air work and their consequences.